Welcome to the Collecting Keys Real Estate Investing Podcast with your host, Mike DeHaan and Dan Austin. From wins, losses, horror stories, and tactics for optimizing your business, Mike and Dan take a real, uncensored deep dive into the ins and outs of running a full-time real estate investment and wholesaling business.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 12 of the Collecting Keys Real Estate Investing Podcast. A little bit of a pre-recorded one here because we are going to be out from Christmas to New Year's. So we are recording this one pretty shortly after episode 11, actually. So if anything crazy happens in the real estate world between Christmas and New Year's that we don't talk about, because we haven't recorded since then. So anyway.
I hope not.
Yeah, right. Anything weird happens at all. I mean, you never know these days.
Exactly.
But we thought this is going to be our last episode of 2021. It will be coming out on the 30th of December. Is that right? 29th of December. What is today if you're listening to this? And we thought this would be a great way to talk about if you want to start generating leads in 2022, the 5 steps you can start taking, which comes right out of our free ebook, which you can get online at collectingkeyspodcast.com.
Yeah. Write your New Year's resolutions with this sitting next to you on your desk if you're into that sort of thing.
Yeah. And if you want to run a real estate investment business, you want to do this full time, or even if you just want to casually find deals, I think everyone sort of benefit from this process. And this is step for step how we got started. And honestly, if you want to make real money in real estate and not just park money for some decent returns, you have to be looking off market to be buying things with equity. Because I think we can fairly say that the one thing that we've learned over this past couple of years doing the business this way is that, you know, the actual return while holding it is great, but you really make your money when you buy.
Absolutely. And you can buy off the MLS. We've bought off the MLS.
That's true.
It's just there's not enough quantity. And it's interesting. We've also been the receiving end of investors trying to buy off the MLS. And it's like, okay, you are dumb. Like the way some of the offers we've gotten on our listings, you're like, come on, man. Like that's I know what you're trying to do here. And it's just not a good idea.
I know, right? Well, it's always like, you know, people like you've done like a value add and then people trying to buy your value add property because they think they can do a value add somewhere else.
Right.
You know, I think you see that a lot in the commercial space. I remember listening to something a little while back with Ken McElroy. You know, he's a pretty big investor who owns, probably tens of thousands of units at this point. But he was talking about how they just finished this syndication project and they were listed it to sell. And the property, as far as he's concerned, was fully stabilized and there wasn't much upside left. And they listed it on the market, put it under contract to sell. And then almost immediately he was on some other syndicators like list. And he gets an email saying they're raising money to buy his property for a value add deal.
And if there's one guy in the apartment space that's kind of known, like, you know, Ken McElroy is obviously widely known, that he squeezed the juice out of the deal. Like I would believe that him. He's got teams of analysts that look at these constantly. And not that another guy can't make money, but probably not what the syndicator was saying they're going to make with amazing returns and no risk at all. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Right. I know, which is just how all that stuff is right now with raising money and that whole space, but that's a conversation for another time. Anyway, the top 5 steps to start generating off market leads straight out of our ebook from collectingkeyspodcast.com. Let's go right down the list here and we'll kind of chat about them. But step number 1, and I think this is also one of the ones where people get hung up pretty well, is choosing your farm area, or basically choosing where you're going to start marketing. And I feel like people, particularly in expensive markets, who decide they're not going to do this in their backyard. So I guess let me preface that. There's kind of 2 areas you can pick. You can either choose to do it locally, or you can choose to do your investing virtually. And, you know, there's kind of a lot of different things to consider with that. But I think people, particularly if they're in an expensive market and they're choosing to do this remotely, those are the ones who tend to get stuck with paralysis by analysis before they even get started.
Yeah. And when we say expensive market, it's generally speaking people in California. I mean, you hear some virtual stuff, but even like, you know, guy like Billy Avaro, he's another guy out there in the East Coast. He's in Jersey area. I mean, he's investing in his home market and stuff like that. That's, you know, East Coast is known. Some of the areas Northeast is expensive markets, but it's generally speaking, a lot of folks in California make this decision for many reasons, but one of them being that they're in a expensive market.
Yeah, exactly. Finding like rental properties that are going to cash flow and are going to have kind of that long-term growth potential when you're living somewhere like San Francisco, where single family homes are, $1 million plus. Not only is it challenging to find that, I mean, the upside is there if you can find them, but it's also, you're going to need more capital to get started with that. So if you're somebody looking, in that area, even if you make good money, your living expenses are so high, you're going to need to have hundreds of thousands of dollars to get started investing. Whereas, if you take that same money and you got the same hundreds of thousands of dollars and you're in that situation, you start investing, say somewhere in the Midwest, you're going to be able to buy a dozen properties the same amount of money versus one.
Yep. And it's somewhat personal preference in that sense, because investing in an expensive market has its advantages. Like you said, there is more appreciation, coastal markets especially, more appreciation over time. It does take a little bit more money, but you could still, we know people that are investing in California and flipping in California, right? Depending on what market you're in. And those are generally speaking higher appreciating markets. But what you lose out on and go and buying 12 houses in the Midwest is that appreciation. Although lately, the last couple of years, it has been appreciated. The Midwest has appreciated, which, as we've known, talking to other investors, that they still don't really believe it, right? They're like cash flow investors. And so is cash flows more important to you, then you might look at a cheaper market like the Midwest if you're in an expensive market. But if, we're kind of a tertiary market where we are kind of an expensive market somewhat, not traditionally, but we are now, compared to, let's say, the Midwest or even the Southeast. But we can still find cash flow, and we still do by going off market.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I think that's a good point. People do still do things in expensive markets. I mean, one of our top sort of performers in our mastermind, he's in, I think, Southern California, and I think he said he did 14 deals this year, and he made close to $1 million, right? Off of all of his and those are all his wholesale deals, because his wholesale fees are always six figures.
Right.
Like they're huge wholesale fees. Whereas, we learned on our venture into Knoxville, Tennessee, here in Spokane, we can regularly get $20,000, $30,000 wholesale fees. But our properties are also $300,000, $400,000, right? You go somewhere like Knoxville and you're trying to get a $30,000 wholesale fee on a property that's only worth $150,000. It's not going to happen, right? There's not enough room on the deal, and B, it's not going to be taken kindly by the people over there,
right?
Because for them, that's a big deal. Whereas here in Spokane, you can flip a property, make $70,000, $80,000. So if you have a $30,000 fee and somebody goes and flips it and makes 50, that's going to be a lot more kind than eating the entire thing away in those cheaper markets. But so anyway, just to reiterate, kind of depends on if you're looking for cash flow or appreciation. Is a big thing. If you're looking for cash flow, obviously go into those cheaper markets where the rent to purchase rate is going to be a little bit closer. You're going to be able to do better with that.
And I would add to, when you're looking at your market, like you and I, we pull down a ton of data, right? We look at multiple different facets of that market. Like when we're looking virtually or even locally, what does that data look like? And that's kind of how we get into and analyze markets that we want to be in, is making sure that they perform in multiple ways. I think we were looking at maybe 8 to 10 different statistics for the markets we look at to neck it down.
Yep, exactly. So cool. Step number 2 is to pull your data. So now that you kind of have the general area that you're looking at, is trying to figure out who the hell to actually reach out to in those markets, where your motivated seller is going to be. There are a number of different tactics you can use for that. Some specific details about where exactly we pull in our ebook. You want to go check that out. But basically what it comes down to is you have to look at different data providers. You have to determine different niche lists you want to reach out to. You have to figure out which zip codes you're interested in. And all that is going to come right there. What is that?
Sorry. That was my phone.
That was your phone. You bumped it.
Whoa.
You have to figure out, which zip codes you're interested in, and that's all going to come from either your personal experience in your market or looking at some of the different websites you can use to analyze zip codes in foreign markets. Like I know what is it? Neighborhood Scout's a big one that people look at. What some people look at for school zones and sex offenders.
Well, Zillow has good school zones on there already for most markets. You can map that out. And but yeah, what is the sex offender website?
I can't remember what it's called.
I can't remember. Definitely been on there before.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
Not like on
Watchdog
there.
maybe? Is it Watchdog?
It might be Watchdog. Let me look it up real quick. I'll look it up while we're doing this.
Yeah. So, using those sort of areas to pinpoint an area to start marketing, and especially if it's a larger area, you can't just pull an entire city and start marketing that way. Like, A, you're going to get overwhelmed, and B, you're going to probably waste a lot of money reaching out to people that don't necessarily have a potential motivation to sell. So using different data providers, we use, PropStream, List Source, there's Real Flow. There's so many out there. If you just look up data providers for real estate investors, and you'll find stuff.
Family Watchdog, by the way.
The Family Watchdog, is that what it is?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good one. So look at your zip codes. So anyway, you want to start with that, and then you want to sort of narrow it down to about 5,000 potential leads to start. And if you want some more details on how to do all that, keep following along with us. We'll post a YouTube video for it at some point. So that's step 2, pull your data. Step 3, this is somewhere that I think a lot of investors who start and they're kind of cheap, they waste a lot of money. They don't want to spend any money, so they waste a lot of time and they miss a lot of opportunity. Step 3 is set up your CRM. So that is what does CRM stand for? Customer
relationship management
manager. Is that what it is?
Management. Yeah. Super critical. You gotta have one. You gotta have one.
You gotta have one. And so many people, especially when they're starting out, CRMs are kind of expensive. They can be a couple $100 a month to pay for. And so when you're starting out and you're very cost sensitive, a lot of people have an aversion to setting one of these up. For some reason, they have in their mind, people will just call me on my cell phone and I will be able to keep track of these people and these conversations that I'm having. Or, people will have an Excel spreadsheet that they're trying to keep track of these leads. And that's, I can't even imagine doing that. We had a CRM from day one. We use one called RE Simply. If you, we'll put our link on here. And if you sign up with RE Simply, it's actually on our website too. What I'll do is if you go to collectingkeyspodcast.com/RE Simply, I'll sort of set up a page so you can see how we set ours up and how we structure it. And if you use our link on there, I think you'll get a free month trial. So you can sort of play around with it while you're testing out your marketing here in the new year. But basically what the system does is it automatically takes the calls. It automatically has a place where it stores all the phone numbers. You can keep all your notes in there. You can, automatically link it with Zillow. You can actually send text messages through there, so all your conversations are in one place. So you're not having basically your personal text messages mixed in with these other ones. Not only that, but you can set up different phone numbers in here. So, when you're reaching out to people and they decide that they hate you, they don't have your personal phone number.
Right. Yeah. Key. That's important.
Super important. People kind of laugh at that, but I mean, we haven't had anybody too crazy with ours, I don't think, but
lonely sellers that just want to talk.
Yeah. We get that's actually more common. That's don't get anyone too scary, but like one of our competitors literally had someone show up at their office and start physically threatening their office staff. So, being able to turn off the switch and keep people from contacting you if things get weird is pretty beneficial.
Yeah, I mean, if you're pulling good data, it's taking you to the depths of your town or city, wherever you're at. Yeah. There's a reason why they're on your list, and sometimes it's not always the best reason.
Yeah, I know, right? I mean, mostly it's not. If you're marketing correctly, there are people that do have problems, and they're going to be sensitive to that sometimes. Yep. And if they're the kind of person that decides that you're the reason for their problems, and you can't convince them otherwise, you want to be able to, pop smoke and disappear. And having a disposable phone number is one of the easiest ways to do that.
Yep. Yeah. And I think too, if you're in a competitive market, which most everybody is now, when I say competitive, I mean other investors, the CRM is going to help you squeeze the juice out of your deals, your leads. Because even with a CRM, if you're not properly maintaining it or utilizing it, you're going to be missing opportunities. And being able to set up tasks and notifications to call back and to follow up, to be able to listen to your phone calls and improve, that's huge, right? Coaching either your act manager or yourself and saying, okay, what could I have done better here? That's really huge. And then like calling somebody and trying to remember, that is like the worst. Like, remember what
Yeah.
you talked about last time, and you're trying to like give them a sales pitch.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you can go back and look at your notes and listen to a call or something, before you call back, like that helps you, immensely. So just helping you get the most out of your leads and also be more competitive in your environments, like a huge benefit that's not usually talked about.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, being able to remember is a majorly understated sort of perk there.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
especially our average time from when somebody calls us to when we have a signed contract is about 30 days, right? It's about a month.
Mhm.
And that's average. And we have quite a few that are a lot longer than that.
Yep.
And there's nothing worse than when someone calls you and they're like, hey, we chatted a while back. I'm ready to move forward now. And you're sitting there going, who the hell is this person? I can't
Right.
remember. I don't know what address this
Yes.
is. And now you're caught with your pants down, right?
Yeah.
But if you have the ability to go back and look at all the data, you can remember the notes, you can remember anything you put about their personal situations, you can keep that rapport strong. That's going to be a difference, in several deals a year if you're doing this thing right.
And a huge time saving, because I mean, the nice thing about RE Simply is if you get a lead that comes in, right, and you have it, you can look at Street View right there. You can see the Zillow information. You can get all these like really high level pieces of data right, before you even get into the lead, right? It's all in one spot. So that's also time saving if you're trying to bounce back and forth between 4 different applications to just do the same thing. It's helpful.
Yep, exactly. Perfect. And then step 4, after you have your leads prepared, I guess the list that you're going to be mailing, your area you're going to, you have your CRM already to start receiving information, then you need to pick your marketing channel and how you are going to actually reach out to these people. There are so many different options to this. There's no right option. There's no wrong option. The one thing that I see that's very common is everyone thinks that their method of marketing is the best, like the people that are successful in this, and that the other ones suck. I can guarantee you whatever marketing method you think is terrible, there's probably people that are making millions of dollars doing that.
Right.
And the kind of the key point with all this is to pick something and become awesome at it before you start jumping around to a bunch of different things. So, the different kind of marketing methods, direct mail is very common. That's mainly what we do. Cold calling is huge. There's people that do a lot of online work, PPC sort of stuff, Google ads. There's people that do SEO and try to establish themselves as like an authority that shows up organically on Google. There's people that do, run social media ads. There's people that do TV, advertise, people that do radio ads. What else do people do? People that straight do just like driving for dollars and only
Door knock.
only direct stuff, door knocking. Like some of the best people. I know a guy down in Boise he did several $1 million last year, and he strictly does driving for dollars and door knocking. He has a team of like 15 dudes that just go out and drive for dollars and door knock. And for him, being in a non-disclosure state like Idaho, that makes perfect sense, right? Because we can't just pull the same data as everyone else. So he has to go extremely targeted with his marketing. So, that's like the most archaic form of marketing you can do. And he's killing it down there with that.
He has an unfair advantage, though. It's like the point pest control guys that sell like the pest, because Boise it's near a, it's I don't know what's the PC way to say it? It's near a Mormon market where it has a high Mormon population, and they are killers, dude. Like because they go on their mission, and what do you think they do? They go door knock and try to sell people their religion. And I have had great experience with those guys just in my personal experience, and they are killers. So he probably has 15 dudes that just got off a mission going and knocking on doors. So, I mean, it works, but he has an unfair advantage.
Yeah.
Geographically unfair advantage.
That's true, right? I mean, I'm sure having the university there, that's a good size, helps as well. You can find a bunch of college kids that want to go. I mean, we kind of have that here, but the problem is our university's here is full of a bunch of rich kids. So, I mean, they're not going to go knock on doors for $15 an hour.
Yeah, Catholics and stuff.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But so there's so many different methods. We kind of break down the specifics in the ebook if you want to go check it out. But if you wanted to check out direct marketing in particular, we use Ballpoint Marketing. If you go to ballpointmarketing.com, you can use our code MD5 and you get 5% off when you send we send any order, not just your first one. And it's funny because 5% doesn't necessarily sound like a ton, but when you're sending, when you're sending $5,000, $7,000, $8,000 with the mail, you start growing. that's several $100s, which is going to add up extremely quickly.
Right. Yeah. And I think you made a good point when you first started the conversation that I'd reiterate too, is like, you kind of got to pick a marketing channel and stick with it. Cause you can't just like, oh, I'm going to send one batch of mail and 30 days later I'll be rich and then I'll do it again. You can't just cold call for a little bit and then stop and SMS. You have to be consistent with whatever you choose. You know, I'd say we love, mail, right? I mean, we do really well with it. We've kind of built that as our niche, but we also layer on other marketing channels as part of our marketing plan. And that's part of it, is building your marketing plan.
Yeah, exactly. And, we'll emphasize as well that we were doing well with direct mail before we started doing everything else, and the other forms of marketing have their own systems and they all complement each other at this point. And it's not like we are stopping one to start the other, but we're sort of doing them in compound. But at the same time, we also have a system and we have staff in place to work those leads and work those leads and close those leads. So we're not just marketing and getting a bunch of leads and not closing any of them, which also would be an extremely easy thing to do, especially if you're someone that's sitting on some money and you're like, you have more money than you have patience.
Right. Yeah.
You'd be spending an incredible amount of money and be getting nothing back from it.
Yeah. Let people like us who have spent, I don't know, a pretty significant amount of money on marketing do all the testing and retesting, right? We've done, testing, retest it, try this type, try that type, not just marketing channels, but how do we build that marketing plan within a single channel, whether it's direct mail or cold calling or whatever, scripts and all that sort of stuff.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. Let us I think it was $132,000 spent on marketing this year. Learn from our expensive.
Right. Yes. We've definitely made a fair amount of mistakes. That's okay.
Yeah, exactly. So, you guys kind of decide what works well for you and your personality and your situation as well. Like if you're somebody that's working a full-time job and, you don't necessarily have time to be answering the phone every single second, then, like something like direct mail. Sorry if I said if you have a full-time job, something like cold calling wouldn't necessarily work for you because that's going to be more immediately proactive. Even if you hire like a call service, it's pretty important that you get to those cold calling leads pretty quickly because as soon as they're off the phone with your rep, they're going to be cold within minutes, right? Or, if you're doing it yourself, it's a very time intensive thing. That is the cheapest way to go. But with direct mail, what you can do is you can be more reactive to it because they're going to be calling you. So, if you don't really have like a flexible scheduling, answer your phones all the time, it'd be important to, maybe have a partner or something that can help you answer stuff. But, it's going to be a little bit less labor intensive, even though it is more expensive up front than say like cold calling, and then when it comes to things like the internet marketing, that's going to be probably the most expensive and the most hands off. But the challenge that and why I'm actually not really a big fan of it is that you can't really control when results are going to come in. Like we know that when we send mail, whatever class shipping we do, when the letter starts hitting, we're going to start getting calls. We know that when we are cold calling, when our people are calling, we're going to be getting leads. We run internet stuff all the time and it's completely random when the internet leads come in.
It's like a black box.
Yeah. And half the time it's at like 2 a.m., and then you see it the next morning, you call them back and you found out the person was just having a shitty day and was drunk at home and decided to submit a web form on your website for some reason. So, different things there. So anyway, so then at that point, you have your market, you pulled your lists, you have your CRM, you've started your marketing. What's the most important thing? What's the last thing, Dan? And the thing that we struggled with the most when we first started?
Talking to people.
Exactly. Talking to people and learning how to do sales, which is something that I think everyone who starts this business probably doesn't really realize, especially if you come from kind of like a corporate mindset where maybe you have an office job and talking to especially the kind of people in this business that you interact with that are a bit colorful is not an easy thing to do. So, when we say this, it's talk to people to learn your sales skills and B, making sure you're following up, because when we first started, that was kind of the biggest thing that we learned was we'd send out marketing, leads would come in, we talked to people when they came in, they would kind of brush us off and we would never call them again, or we'd call them like very sporadically because, you didn't want to have to talk to the weird, old lady that was going to just chat your ear off about weird stuff, or tell you how, the 5G gave her cancer, or tell you about, whatever, like just weird stuff that people do, right? So we wouldn't follow up with them. We wouldn't talk to them enough. And then, what happened? We spent a shit ton of money and we got very few deals for an extended period of time. And then, after we did some analysis, we went to a mastermind, and, our business coach basically said that maybe we suck and we need to hire this out.
No, we don't suck.
As he said, he's like, you're good at generating leads. You just suck at talking to people. And, we decided to take the risk of hiring somebody, which can go either way. So a lot of other people got this same feedback as mastermind. They didn't have the luck that we did. We brought in our first employee who had a full-time commitment to now following up and talking to all these people. And lo and behold, she pulled 7 contracts in the first couple of weeks from leads that were already in our system, not even new stuff. So she basically just did the talking that we didn't want to do.
And it is a full-time job. If you want to be successful at it and you want to get through leads and actually do contracts every month, it's a full-time gig, because not only do you have new leads coming in all the time from your marketing, but you have to be following up with these leads 39.7 days, 45 days, whatever it is.
Yeah, exactly. 100 plus days. We have several leads that we've gotten the contract over 3 months after they came into our system.
Wow. Yeah.
And a lot of those came because we have staff. This isn't saying that you should go hire staff, because before you know what you're doing, you should definitely not hire staff. You need to you need to get your licks on your own before you start bringing other people in, because otherwise they'll just be like, what the hell am I here for? But now we have staff that are just going through their follow-up process, and they randomly decide to give someone a call that we haven't talked to in a couple of weeks, and the conversation sort of reignites. We literally have a lead right now that I'm hoping to get soon. Like, she's definitely warm towards us, that came into our CRM a year ago this July. They've been in our system for 18 months.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
We're
going to close it. We're going to do it.
I feel like we are, right? She's stubborn. Like, she's not moving forward, but their situation, they need to. So I'm optimistic that it'll happen. But
yeah, I think if anybody's proof that you don't have to be a salesperson is us, right? We both come from engineering backgrounds, which is funny enough because there's a lot of real estate investors that for some reason come from engineering backgrounds, which I think is just because a lot of it's numbers, and naturally we're good at numbers.
And it's also because being an engineer is fucking miserable, so we want to do anything else.
Yeah, there's a lot of truth to that, right? But we worked through it and we survived long enough to realize that that's not our favorite part of the business, is salesy stuff. We understand it and we know how to coach on it and we get it. It's just not our natural skill. But when you run into a natural salesperson, right away, they're a salesperson, that they're doing good. And obviously I think they have a leg up in this business if they can keep everything else organized. And there's no reason to hire a salesperson if you're kick-ass at sales, to be honest, right? If that's what you're good at, hire somebody to do your operations, not your sales.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I mean, that's you get into more in the weeds, but yeah, that'd be a good topic for another time, is, how do you figure out who exactly to hire and what fits your, sort of purpose? Cause that was at the mastermind we went to in Florida at the beginning of, November. It's funny. That was a very common conversation. It was all kind of people that had been in our group for a while. Pretty much everybody there had a operating business, but one of the most talked about topics was how do I hire an acquisitions manager that's going to do as well as I do in the business? And kind of what it came down to was, if that's your part of the business, don't freaking hire that person. If you like that, you got to find the people that do the parts that you don't like, and then outsource that first, hire that out first. If you're the guy that crushes sales, do that. If you're the sales guy, but you suck at data, find an engineer and bring them in to manage your data, manage your marketing. And everyone sort of seems to think that you have to outsource the more active parts of the business. That's not necessarily true if those are the parts that you like. So I'll be going for another time. Anyways, so we have finding your farm area, we have finding your data, we have setting up your CRM, starting your marketing, start learning to talk to people and following up. It's pretty simple.
Is it that simple? Jeez. Nice.
It is that simple. Well, I mean, it's really funny. It really is. I mean, I remember when we first set all this up and we dropped our first batch of marketing. I think we dropped 5,000 pieces. And we were like, wouldn't it be crazy if somebody actually called us? And we had so many freaking phone calls.
Yes.
Didn't even know what to do.
Yep.
I remember because I was still at my gig. I was working out as like a contract engineer for this place out in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. And my phone just kept going like all day. And I was like, are you serious right now? I could not believe that I kept getting all these calls. You know, and then I was like, I remember they started going, I was like, man, we're going to be so rich with all these deals coming in. And
every call's a deal, right?
Yeah. As far as I was concerned, it was.
Yeah.
And then we proceeded to get no deals for 4 months.
And it wasn't because of the lead quality. That's for sure.
No, it definitely wasn't. It was just a learning experience. So cool. Yeah, so that's basically the 5 steps. You can start this literally the second that you hear this. You can go start setting this up. If you want the specific details of the different platforms and everything we use, go check out our ebook at collectingkeyspodcast.com. And then last podcast, I said, if anybody has any questions about how to get started or anything related to real estate, hit me up on DMs. And it was funny. So that episode hasn't even come out yet when we're recording this, but I just happened to get this this message randomly today. And it's from this guy. His name is John L. He doesn't have, I don't know where he's from or anything. But he said that, Mike, I've been listening to your Collecting Keys podcast. I'm just like you. I'm also an engineer. How did you take the leap from your engineering job to go into real estate? I think he's looking for some tips on sort of how to do that. What do you think, Dan?
Cool. That's a great question. Can I explain how you did it?
Yeah, sure.
I mean, from my perspective, because I was on the outside, right? So like, I think you just woke up one day and you quit your job. Like,
pretty much. Yeah.
I mean, that's quite literally not how it happened. That's how you did it. I'm the opposite of you because I still do work in corporate America. And so I think it's definitely a personality thing. And I think we've both proven that there's no wrong way to do it.
For sure.
Yet, right? But yeah, you definitely, and you're not the only person I've met that's like that, right? But just finally said, yep, enough's enough. I'm done.
Yeah. I mean, you're not wrong. It's funny. I remember when we had that conversation too, because I was working for you.
Right.
You know, you were my boss at Avista, and we went out to lunch. It was my 1-year anniversary from starting. Do you remember this?
Yeah.
And we were at the Mexican place here in town, and you were like, how's your first year going? I was like, man, I don't even know how to tell you this, but I'm quitting. You're like, what are you going to do? And I was like, fuck, I don't even know. You know, I had like all sorts of different thoughts on what I wanted to do.
Real estate investing wasn't one of them.
Real estate investing was not even on my mind at that point. You know, I had this, at first I was going to go and be a physical therapist, get into sports therapy. Then I was going to do tech startups. Then, you know, real estate just sort of came around after I tried a handful of different things. And, you know, I sort of got into the financial freedom and wealth building sort of mindset, and then real estate just made sense. Yeah, anyway, if you want to know my full story, you can go check out a medley of the other things that I've been on as well. Because I've retold the same story on about a dozen different podcasts now. I don't need to repeat it right now.
No. Well, for another time. It's a fascinating story. I think everybody's origin story is really interesting, of how you get into stuff and that sort of thing. But I think everybody has different reasons, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Why you want to quit or why you don't want to quit and where you start. And, you know, for me, when I started real estate investing, it wasn't like an exit strategy. It was a wealth strategy. For a lot of people, it's an exit strategy.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. You know, and I would say that, you know, to actually answer that question, make sure that you have, you know, financial, like some financial savings. I think that's one of the biggest things that a lot of people don't realize is how long it actually takes to start making money doing this. Because I mean, even then, you know, if you start getting deals, it took a long time for us to start actually making a profit, you know, and if you're trying to take money out of the business to live off of, and you're not putting it towards marketing, you're going to be living paycheck to paycheck, and it'll be very, very stressful. I mean, we know a lot of investors who fall into that trap. So, you know, making sure that you have some financial savings as much as you can. And then, I mean, I was fortunate in my situation that I had a wife that had a decent job that was bringing in some money. So, you know, that definitely helped. And then, I mean, when I quit, it wasn't like I just quit to go fuck around. Like I had plans, kind of. I was at least had ways of making money. I was working as a coach, weightlifting coach. I was doing that and making a little bit of money. I would drive for Uber. I would just do random things. I would do odd jobs just to help people out to make extra cash. So I was more just in like the grind mode, and I went from making, I think my total compensation was probably just under 6 figures if you look at everything combined. And I think in 2018, the first year I left, I made like 27 grand off of just straight hustle.
Yeah.
No actual big upside or like regular paychecks, just all odd jobs and random stuff. But so
it worked out.
Anyway, and also too, I would say that if you did want to take the leap, going through this whole process and having some leads set up for you to jump right into and occupy you full time would make a big difference, as opposed to if you quit and then start trying to set this up with the lag factor involved in this, it's going to be an extremely uncomfortable period of time.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, you can do it no matter however you do it, right? Because there's the 1 in a million success stories. Guy quit his job, homeless, homeless to millionaire. There's a handful of those success stories out there, but it's not quite as easy for everybody else.
Exactly. Yeah, those are the exception, not the rule. There's a reason those people used to be on like Oprah and stuff.
Right.
So, cool. All right. Well, I think that's our time. My name is Mike DeHaan. Follow me on Instagram at Mike_invests. You can follow Dan at InvestorManDan. You can check out our podcast, collectingkeyspodcast.com. You can also follow us on socials at that same tag, Collecting Keys Podcast. And this is the last from 2021. Keep an eye out for 2022. We actually have a lot of content stuff that we're starting to prepare, different educational stuff. We're working with a media manager right now that's sort of helping us sort of plan and strategize all that. So we should hopefully have some good things coming up 2022. And any last words from you for 2021, Dan?
Nope. We'll see you next year. Dad joke. Boom.
There you go. All right. Thanks, everybody. Happy New Year, and enjoy any time off that you have. All right. See ya.
Thanks for listening. Please leave us a review on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. And check us out at collectingkeyspodcast.com for tips and guides on starting your own real estate investment and wholesaling business.